Hello, my name is Amber Devon, and I will be presenting my learning contract project. So, I decided to interview the individuals that I work with in student life and engagement that I work with during my practicum experience. And so, this allowed me to gain some more insight in the realm of student activities, which is where I want to transition from housing and residence life, which is currently my role. So, I wanted to understand a little bit about what they do and how they have come to be into their roles. And so the first person I want to touch on is Dr. Sharon Dukes. She is currently the Director of Student Life and Engagement at Augusta University. And so previously to serving as a director, she was actually the interim director after the previous director had left. And prior to that, she served as the Assistant Director of Student Life and Engagement. And so we are so happy to have her in this role because her vision and her mission for just, overall student engagement is really great. So a little background about Dr. Dukes. She went to Payne College where she served in so many different roles as it relates to student affairs, which is basically how she got her feet wet with the field. So she was an RA. She is a member of the Theta Sorority Incorporated. She was Miss Payne. So at HBCUs, we have a lot of different Mr. and Mrs. for everything. And so Augusta University actually has a Mr. and Miss pageant for their organizations. But Dr. Dukes is one of the main people that brought it to Augusta University, trying to kind of get that campus pride, campus feel going. And so she was a graduate assistant at the University of South Carolina, where she received her master's degree and went on to get her PhD in student affairs. So Dr. Dukes served as a missions counselor for a few when she was a graduate assistant, and then she went on and left student affairs to go on the high school level. So she calls it the student affairs of high school level because she served as a teacher for the high school. And so the high school that she was at was not the best high school, and so she jumped at the opportunity after about 8 years of serving as a teacher at that high school. She went on to go ahead and come to Augusta University, where she actually interviewed for the coordinator role, but was overly qualified for the position just based off of her experiences. And she was just more than fine with, she said, going and just being a part of something else that wasn't so complex as it was at her school, she said. So just a lot of things to, get her to that level of being where she's at. So she had experience in student affairs, and then she left the field to go to the other side of education, so K through 12, and then she came back to student affairs, and now she currently serves as where she is right now. And so I asked her, what are some aspiring goals that you have for the future and any tidbits about that? And so she basically just said that she wanted to, make sure she influences the campus culture as far as just that sense of pride and boosting it up. So as an HBCU graduate, I really relate to her because, especially working at a PWI, it's important to look at those traditions to basically just be able to, hit the ground running and do what she needs to do. So I then asked her, how did she get to where she is? How did she find herself in this role? So she actually said that she was in undergrad on track to be an English teacher. And so that's how she ended up becoming a teacher at the high school where she was serving before she got to Augusta University. And so that was her goal. That was her main idea of what she didn't really know what student affairs, and then realized hey, actually I literally did student affairs when I was an undergrad. And so she kind of tapped into that side of things and went on to become what she is now. And then I asked her some advice that she may have for students, for individuals entering the field of student affairs. And she said, student affairs is very broad, from campus rec to intramurals, and it's important to find things that you're passionate about to basically go ahead and choose the realm of where you want to go, but then also don't be afraid to leave when things aren't working out. She said that her dream was to be an educator, and she didn't think that it would be in the capacity that she is now, but she couldn't be more happy. So don't be afraid to, venture out and, explore different opportunities in different areas as it relates to student affairs. The next individual I had the pleasure of interviewing was Roberto Argon. So he is the Assistant Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life at Augusta University as of this January. Prior to that, he served as the Coordinator for Civic Engagement. And so Roberto actually is a Georgia Southern alum. He graduated this past December from the Masters of Higher Education program. And so he had a lot of good tidbits for me to just, understanding what it is to be in this field and transitioning from graduate school as far as like that mindset into really be a full professional. And especially working as a full-time professional and going to school, he definitely gave me some advice on what to do. And so I asked him what he does, and so he told me that he is the, again, Assistant Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life. And so currently we have 14 orgs on campus, 4 IFC, 3 IPC, and 6 NPHC. And so these are different organizations for fraternity and sorority life, ranging from everywhere. And so there are different things that he, wants to implement as far as, just making sure fraternity and sorority life is on top of their things and together. I know we hear a lot of information about fraternity and sorority life and different institutions that kind of just, don't really do the best they can to prevent things like hazing and misconduct. So he definitely wants to incorporate a lot of those things into his role as he enters into it, and he's always had a passion for fraternity and sorority life. And so I asked Roberto, how did he get to his area of being where he's at now? So just again touching on the previously, he served in student life and engagement as a civic engagement coordinator, and this is where he facilitated voter registration events as well as a lot of volunteer events. And then prior to that, he served in academic affairs for about 5 to 6 years. And so, he got his start in academic affairs, which he enjoyed to an extent. He said that he wanted to have a lot more of the fun side of things, so he decided to switch on over to the student affairs side of things. And so as an undergrad, he was experiencing many different things. He worked in student government, he was a student athlete, he was in fraternity life, so he got that experience and understood that he wanted to be in that area of student affairs then. And so I asked Roberto, does he have any advice for someone entering the field? And so he said, just make sure that whatever you do, you put your all into it and you keep going. And so he basically made sure that to understand that, hey, like, find the balance. Also, it's really hard to say yes to everything. So not having to stress out about things and things to work out, because at the end of the day, we're doing this for our students. And so, don't overload yourself. Burnout is real. And so, at the end of the day, take a week off and just take that break that you may need. That's necessary for it. And so that was really great advice that I got from Roberto, especially I can relate to that working in housing and residence life. Burnout is definitely real, as well as just, overall just being with students and serving them and instilling things into them. It gets to be a lot. So, he said just make sure you take the time for yourself, because the job will be here, but you may not always. And so just taking that consideration, I thought that was great advice. And the last individual that I was able to interview was Miss Laisha Christian. She also is a Georgia Southern alum from the higher education program. She graduated last May with her master's in higher education, and she gave me some real great tidbits of advice as well, and just got more of an insight on what she does. And so she is the coordinator for student involvement at Augusta University. Now, when you look at this title, you think that it's probably student government activities, or she oversees different student groups. But in actuality, she is the JSAC operations manager. So she supervises our Jaguar student activity center, and she oversees maintenance. She oversees 30 plus student employees, the day-to-day operations from the front desk to overseeing different things like the game room and making sure events are set up, and EMS and improving things in presence. So we are a very heavy presence university. We use presence for like literally every event that you could think of, and so she's the one that actually approves the events and makes sure that the events are up to the standard of what they should be, following safety protocol. Especially, I would say we are still in this pandemic because COVID is, different variations drop every day. But she's definitely one of those people that is in charge of that and making sure everything is good to go. And so I asked her to tell me some of her experiences in student affairs and what that looked like. And so she, again, like Dr. Dukes and Roberto, had many different experiences as it relates to student affairs. So she was a student. She served on the student conduct board. She actually attended Augusta University, so her experience is definitely different for her because she was working. She went from being a student to working as a professional at the institution. And so she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So she did a lot of things with Greek life. And she basically, made sure that she got the most out of her experience at Augusta University to pour back into return back. And so many different things that she, taught me and just gave me some of that advice is just, is to push through adversity and also understand that everybody's experience is not your experience, and don't be afraid to go your own path because not every path is clear and not every path is what it is. And so it's important to, not be bound by the typical student affairs, be open to explore and be open to flexibility, realizing you are still learning and don't immediately separate from what your intentions are. And so I really appreciated this because she gave a lot of insight into, how she operates. And originally she said that when she received the role as the coordinator for student involvement, she wasn't on the maintenance side. That wasn't her area of expertise. That wasn't her passion area. And so this is an area where she made sure that she understood and she learned everything she needed to do. And she said she prefers the side of overseeing the building and overseeing facilities because the other side of things is a little bit more tedious and administrative, and that's not really her style of doing things. So she prefers to be in the maintenance side and the overseeing facilities as well. And that is the end of my presentation, and thank you so much for listening. And I've enjoyed my interviews with these individuals. They were definitely enlightening and eye-opening, and I am excited to continue to work with them in my practicum experience. So you guys all have a great day.